If I were to ask you what is the most exciting tactic in a game of chess, you would obviously say en passant, right? It's en passant. No, it's not. It's the sacrifice of a queen. The beautiful violence that ensues after you sacrifice your most powerful attacking piece to deliver a devastating checkmate is something that cannot be replicated. But what if in one game a man sacrificed 3 queens? I usually don't make videos that only feature one game of chess, but I absolutely had to for this one. Also because the protagonist is one of my best friends, International Master Alex Ostrovsky. Here we go. So it's January 1st, 2016. My good friend has the black pieces in a tournament in the Marshall Chess Club in New York City, and the person playing with white is Grandmaster Alexander Lenderman with the US rating of 2707. We have d4, d5, the Queen's Gambit declined, knight c3, and here's c6. You'll notice that black is delaying the traditional move knight f6. This is because black is trying to set up something known as the triangle defense. You would think that's like some sort of meme opening you see on Anarchy Chess, but no, it's actually very much a real thing. And you try to take on c4, and in some lines defend the pawn with b7, b5, before you do this. And Lenderman just lets him do it. A lot of people here will play e3 just defending this against this, because the thing that arises after black takes on c4 and hangs on to that pawn for dear life is pretty crazy. So white plays e3, delaying the development of this bishop and blocking it in to try to win this pawn. Black plays b5. White plays something known as an undermining move. This is the move a4, trying to target the pawn on b5. If you take, you have 2 sets of just isolated and doubled pawns, which is very bad. So you can defend this pawn by pinning this knight to the king, okay? So black plays bishop to b4, and now this is actually not under any pressure. So what does white do? Well, white blocks. Now, black would like to continue to reinforce everything on this side, and does it in a weird way by playing a5, with the idea that when you take my pawn, I can't guard this, but I can first take your knight, you see? First I'm going to take your knight, then you're going to take back, and now I go here. Okay, I've withstood the first attack on my set of pawns, but now white has another undermining move. If you take, then white plays bishop takes pawn check, and queen takes pawn, and just emerges a pawn up and is much better. But if you play b4, then white just takes that anyway because of this pin. So there's a fun way here that black can actually preserve both pawns. First you play bishop b7, defending your rook, and then you play b4. And white drops the bishop back to b2. This defense after the triangle has probably the coolest name in chess. It's not pronounced this way, but it's written this way, Noteboom. Now, obviously, those of you who speak Dutch will be like, that's not how you say it at all, but I don't care. Allow me to Americanize it because it sounds really cool. This is the Noteboom Defense. Literally, this is the Noteboom system. Semi-Slav defense, Noteboom variation. That's not actually how you say it, but it's okay. And essentially, after both sides finish their development and each castle, what the hell is going on? This is a position with black where after 14 moves, you have doubled connected passed pawns on the queen side. Okay, now this video is known as the 3 queen sacrifice video. I think you can kind of begin to tell what's about to unfold, right? Meanwhile, white has a massive center. The bishops are lining up, and all you have to do is push the pawns, and there's an avalanche that can happen. Also, one of the main lines here is this move knight d2 to reinforce the center, and then play this move f4. So white gets a massive pawn avalanche, and black just has these pawns on the queen side. It's totally crazy of a position. There's a lot of theory here, and here black plays this move a4. And it looks like you can take it, but you can't, because there is a little tactic here. Feel free to try to pause. Well, you don't have to feel free to try to pause. You can pause and try to find it. It's the move queen c6. So you have this mate threat on g2, and for that reason, you can't take. But that's okay. White plays rook b1. This is all theory. All theory. Black plays rook d8. Lenderman plays queen e2, preparing to expand in the center. And here my friend Alex plays queen d6. Well, actually, they're both Alex, I should say. You can immediately start pushing, but then white will play rook a1 or like bishop a3 and block your pawns. And it's very difficult for black to make progress when these pawns are blockaded, because then you have to kind of do a whole dance when these pawns come rolling down. So Alex plays queen d6. And here, Lenderman plays bishop a1. Now, I have to also show you the absolutely lunatic lines that might have happened in this game because of how crazy this all is. So the most critical move here is white playing this move e4, just trying to go e5. Black now starts poking holes in white's position by playing knight c5. Anish Giri had a game like this with black. If you take, I take this. So e5. I sidestep and I threaten g2, kind of. But more importantly, after you take my knight, I take your bishop. That's the whole point. And you can't take because of mate. So you take my knight. I now proceed to double up my rook and attack your knight. You move your knight, I play check. You go king h1, and here I play just the absolutely gangster move a3, and then I play the absolutely gangster move b3. And I don't really care that you're like right here and I'm on the verge of death. I will get rid of one of your pieces, and then I will play queen takes pawn. This is something that can happen, where black just has these rollers, and white is like gluing in the king, and just any piece is like mate, and it's an insane position. Now, we go all the way back to here. That's what would happen if white plays e4. Lenderman plays bishop a1, anticipating the pawn moves first. We get the pawn move, and now he brings the bishop back out, because otherwise he will be stuffed to death. Now Alex plays this sidestepping move, queen b6. He wants to avoid e4, e5, and actually bait the move c5 out of his opponent. Also, he's putting some pressure on this diagonal. There are like 6 different moves that white can play here, and none of them the computer can tell apart because of how insane the position is. Rook f2, king h1, g4, g5, h3, e4, c5, whatever. Lenderman plays king h1, a preparation move. On the one hand, he lines up this bishop, but he has no intention to move the g-pawn. He wants to move the center pawns and not get hit with on this diagonal. Alex here plays, age-old wisdom. If you can't make any forward progress, sometimes you need to go back. He's not undeveloping his pieces. He wants to reactivate them along a separate complex. Also, this move is designed against e4, because if white plays e4, black can potentially sacrifice. This is all black wants, to remove some guards of the queen side and just push down the pawns, even for the cost of some material. But, of course, white can also play f5. White has a massive choice of which pawn they can push. Lenderman chooses to play c5. Again, he can also move that one. You have like a crown of pawns. That's why this position is wild. And then he can chop and then play this one, and like I said, it's just total chaos. He plays c5. This is easy. The queen must move. It goes to c7. Okay, here comes e4. He can still play f5, but he chooses e4. Okay, we're going to continue our plan now with knight to c6, looking to attack this. Great. Lenderman can once again either guard his pawn, which is what he did in the game, or this absolutely insane variation, d5, with the intention to take the knight, push the pawn, Alpha Zero style, and give a check and sack the bishop. And it looks like black is just dead, because if you take, I'm going to do something known as a Rook Lift. You have to be very careful. When only a king is by itself and everybody else is having a party over here, y'all forgot about that king. You let him get drunk and stumble off to the other side of the board, now he's going to get captured. Let's not do that. So, that is one line that could have happened. He wouldn't have taken on h7, and that position is still completely, like, insane. Lenderman plays queen e3, and now Alex begins the process of removing the pieces out of Alex's territory, because if you trade everybody off, the Noteboom pawns win the game. So bishop a6. Takes, knight c4. Okay, great. We're ready to play d5, e5, etc., etc., etc. Alex begins fighting back. He plays knight to g4. One completely insane variation here that also could have happened. This is all computer prep. Rook b8, f5, takes, a3, d5. Someone's about to die. Like, these pawns are on the verge of just... And white is on the verge of delivering some mate. And so the engine gives this. White blockades the pawns, and black blockades the center. And you can't take all my pieces because I'm going to go b2, b1. And black is winning here. So Alex plays knight g4, queen g3, takes on d4. You'll notice that he's sacrificing a piece. So now queen g4, queen c5, takes. Alex is down a piece. But that knight is not going to do damage compared to these two pawns. Connected, protected, passed pawns, walking hand in hand on the A and B files. All right, the more this gets to an endgame, the worse this is going to get for white. Queen b5. Queen b5 steps out of rook c1. It pressures the rook, it escorts the pawns, and most importantly, when back rank mate is threatened, Mr. Alexander Ostrovsky does not hang back rank mate. White plays queen f3. Here there is one final absolutely gangster variation, knight takes f7. You can just sacrifice the knight. And if it gets taken with the king, you have check. And black has to find not this move, hanging mate in one, not this move, hanging some mate in some set of moves. Black has to find the right move between these two. And the right move is actually king f8. Because of this insane variation, queen c5 check, forking the rook and the king. A rook blocks and gets pinned, which means it will be lost. But black is still better after a trade of queens. Black sacrifices the rook, but this endgame is better if not winning for black. Isn't that completely insane? White can get as close as they can to promotion, and it doesn't matter because you play king d8. And black is winning here because the pawns are promoting. One of them is at least promoting, and you'll probably have to sack the rook for the... Like, completely insane endgame, okay? But knight takes f7, there is still a way for white to try to draw this game. There's still apparently some like weird computer line where white can draw, but white plays queen f3, and now, again, to avoid getting back rank mated, what do? Alex plays h6. Now, he never has to worry about back rank mates, and the rest of the game will be reserved for this. Lenderman drops back the knight, now we have queen b5, activating the queen, the knight drops back, and it is time, ladies and gentlemen, to push. We have rook coming down to c8, only move king h7. I think we're getting closer and closer to the climax of the video. Knight to h3, enough foreplay. Here we go, a3. Knight to g5 check. The whole point being that if you take with the pawn, it is never too late to hang mate in one. You are fully aware of that. Do not lie to yourself. But you can play king g6. You can play king g6 here, and you are safe. But Alex knew that 5.5 years into the future, I would be on my way to being one of the largest chess channels on YouTube, and I could show this game to an audience, and he knew that it was time to sacrifice his most powerful piece. Queen takes g5. Let the fun begin. F takes g5, a2. We are threatening to take the rook. We are also threatening to just make a queen because we are protected. Rook b2 leads to a1 and back rank mates. So white plays rook f1. If white had played pawn to g6 check, you have to take with the pawn to make sure that your king is cocooned. Remember, this is all one move too slow because ab1 is a queen with check. So white plays rook f1. Now, which queen do you promote? I don't really think it matters. b1 queen defended. G takes h6. Now, ladies and gentlemen, what is the best move here for black? Yes, it's in the title, but look how close you can come to losing if you do the wrong thing. If you make another queen, back-to-back queens, white has the move rook h8 check. That's it. You take, check. You have to take, because queen and rook, even if it's pinned to a king, is still defending the queen. So you take, check, move, check, move, check, move, check, and you're in a drawn situation. You are up 13 points of material, but it's perpetual check. You cannot escape, and God forbid you try, and you get mated, and you get mated. Don't do this. Oh, no, 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 don't do this. So, you need to make a forcing move. Don't play a1 queen. Sack your second queen, baby. Queen f1. And then when we take, we have a new queen on the board. You take it, you put it, you lose it. You take it, you put it, you lose it. It's a queen on the board. Take 3, rook c1, and ladies and gentlemen, yes, you can move your queen. Oh, yes, you can. But no, 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 no. Queen takes rook. 3 sacrificed queens in a game. Finish it off, ladies and gentlemen. Don't do this. Don't get an endgame. What are y'all doing? Let's not do this. No endgames, please. No, 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 no. Connect your rooks. They're friends, right? Rook da4. And you kill their queen on the back rank, and there's nothing they can do about it. And here Grandmaster Alex Lenderman had to resign the game. Did you enjoy that? That was an amazing game. Alex racked up quite a few wins with this Noteboom. And actually, that's also one of the reasons, you know, one of the benefits of studying some of these videos is that you can check out this Noteboom defense against the queen's pawn setup. The problem with it is the fact that, first of all, there is the Marshall Gambit, e4. There are also many lines where white will play b3 and just reinforce like this. I tried to learn the Noteboom, but I didn't have a tremendous amount of fun with it because not a lot of people would allow me to do it. But there you go, folks. It's quite rare you get to see the sight of 3 queens sacrificed, let alone against such an incredibly strong player like Grandmaster Alexander Lenderman. I mean, this was not a 3-minute game. This was a 30-minute game live over the board, and his opponent was very, very strong GM. Not some bum IM who has a YouTube channel and doesn't really play much serious chess anymore. Anyway, on that note, please do let me know if there are other games or topics you'd like me to cover in future videos. You know I read the comments, you know I quite enjoy those, and that's all for now. Hope you enjoyed the game. Peace out, and I will see you in the next video. Get out of here.